Hello, this is author Debra Parmley, and I'm back with another March of the Writers video. We're almost to the end of March, so I have a bit of catching up to do. I'm selecting which prompts I will answer and which ones I won't. So I'm jumping to the one for the 25th. March 25th prompt is the author debate, part 4, Prologues, yay or nay. I have never been a real fan of prologues. I always like to jump into a story, whether I'm reading it or writing it. But my first book had a prologue. And it had a prologue because my agent at the time insisted that it needed one. And he wanted me to put sex in the book, more sex in the book. I had more of a closed door type of book. But I'd started writing this. It was originally titled Gone to Texas, and it came out in 2008 in ebook and 2009 in print as A Desperate Journey. This book was the manuscript that was in the American Title II contest, and 10 of us were competing for one publishing contract from Dorchester Publishing. The contest was put on by Dorchester Publishing and Romantic Times Book Lovers Magazine. And so readers voted online, and none of us been published before, so we have all this attention on these books, and basically they've been vetted because Dorchester wouldn't have let you in the contest if they weren't willing to publish your book if you won. So it didn't have the prologue in it. It had chapter 1, and it had gotten that vetting, but I was brand new. So when my book got bumped in the second round of voting, um, shortly afterward, I landed the agent. And the agent thought that I needed to add sex to the book so it could sell and add a prologue. So I wrote a prologue, and the book sold, and it came out with a prologue. So for a 7-year contract, it was like that. I did not put prologues on any of my other books, and in hindsight, I don't think it needed that prologue. If it had needed that prologue, would it have been in the contest? Would it have done as well as it had already done without one? Did it need the sex scenes? I would say no to all of that, looking back on it with 15 years of experience. But I was brand new, didn't know, so I put the prologue in. So prologues, yes or no? That story would have sold without the prologue. Dorchester was willing to take a chance on it. Samhain Publishing published the book. Yes, that's how they pronounce it. And they're no longer in business. Neither is Dorchester. When I got rights back, I put the book back out. But the more I thought about it, the more that prologue bothered me. And I thought this was not the story as I intended it to be. So I put the book back out in a more original status. Of course, it had been edited and it had a new ending, which is a different story. But I put it back out, and now it's available in ebook, in paperback, and in large print hardcover. And it does not have the prologue, and I pulled out the sex scenes that it didn't have in the first place. It's very much a Western, and it has romance. It's a blend of the two. As a result, a lot of men like the story. I have a lot of men who have read this one and liked it. It's set on the old Chisholm Trail in 1867, and it was the year that the trail opened. That trail ran from Kansas to Texas, so it's very much a Western. And there's gunfights and all kinds of exciting things happening in it. Um, it didn't need anything extra added to it to help it sell. So I would say I fired that agent. after I signed the contract. In fact, when the call came in that we had an offer and that the book could be sold to them, I was, people tell their story. They used to tell their stories of the call. That was the big deal because you couldn't get your book out anywhere without this gatekeeping, without agents and publishing houses. They didn't have the indie presses back then. They only had vanity presses, which would charge you a lot of money to put a book out. So this was the way. And so the stories of the call, usually they're happy stories. And mine, I didn't tell much, not very often. When I received the call, I'm sitting there. My first reaction is, oh, yay, they want to buy the book. But sitting in front of me, right in front of me on that desk, lacking only an envelope and a stamp, was my severance letter for my agent. Now, when this happens, you can't sever till you sign the contract, because you can't turn around and sign the contract without the agent because he pitched it. You don't want to get into legal trouble. So I signed it. I did something kind of unorthodox. I called the publisher. Back then, you didn't really do this. You're supposed to have an agent. Go do everything. You go through the agent. I called the publisher and I said, I have your offer and I would like to sign it. I do want to sign with you. However, I explained I had the letter sitting on my desk. And I said, as soon as I have signed this contract, I am severing with him and this letter will go out. So it would take a 30-day period, because it was 30-day out clause that I had added as an addendum to the contract, that either party could get out with a 30-day notice. And they said, thank you for letting us know. We look forward to doing business with you. And they did me a favor, because when that contract came in, it had split payments for me and my agent, which meant I did not have to go through him to get my money. I did not have to do business with him ever again. So they did me a huge favor when they did that. And I'm very thankful for that. Of course, he still got his 10% for the 7 years, but I didn't have to deal with him anymore. And one of the things that happened was a long laundry list of items that he did that was wrong. But the biggest one, the one that I've shared, is that when my edit letter came and the editor said she wanted me to, rethink the last chapter, write a new last chapter. I didn't read through the whole manuscript before I responded. My thought was, oh, she doesn't like my ending. So I came up with a couple possibilities, emailed those to her, and she picked one. So then I start the edits and I get all the way through to the end. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, where's the last chapter? And I emailed her and I said, what page, how much did he send you? What page was the end of yours? And I said, do you have this scene, that scene? She's like, no, I didn't get those. He sent my manuscript to them without the last chapter. That's just one thing on the laundry of things he did wrong. I could have hired a high school student to do a better job of that. At least they would have sent the whole book. So anyway, not to go off too much on him. His advice to write that prologue was wrong, along with a lot of other things he suggested that were wrong. And so the lesson in this is, let your story tell you if you need a prologue. Don't let a person tell you you need a prologue. Pay attention to your story. It'll let you know. And trust yourself. Trust your writing. I don't think prologues are necessary, but perhaps I just haven't written a book in which one was. Maybe other people have written books which needed prologues, but the type I write, I like to jump right in with something exciting or disturbing has happened and let the reader discover things along the way instead of explaining a bunch of stuff before the book starts, because that's a boring way to start into a book. It's a lot more fun to jump right in and have something happening. Some sort of action, something has either just occurred or is occurring, and that's how you pull your reader in. That's how I get pulled in when I'm either watching a movie or reading a book. If it's meandering along on its way, then my imagination is going to start playing off in the forest in the corner doing something else. It's not going to pay attention. So I have to write a book that doesn't need a prologue. It doesn't need a meandering way. It doesn't need a bunch of explanation. Of course, if you're a writer, you have to do it your way. You do what works for you, what works for your story. And you are the only one that knows that. No agent can tell you that. No editor can tell you that. You have to learn that for yourself. And you learn that by writing. The more you write, the more you learn. The more you write, the better the writing. It's a business. It's a career. It's an art in which you never stop learning. And so the best advice I can give is keep writing. Just keep writing. That's all. And let the story tell you if it needs a prologue or it doesn't need a prologue. So that's my answer to the question of prologues, yay or nay. And this was day 25 prompt in March. And so March of the Writers, hashtag capital M, capital O, capital T, capital W, 2024. This is author Debra Parmley wishing you a beautiful day and reminding you that every day we are alive is a beautiful day. Thanks for listening.